one of the things that's really unique about your show is that you're juggling two twins. And I'm like, that is a perfect, example of what I want to bring on to Father's Fire, because I think a lot of times we as men, we're trying to figure out how we're going to juggle work, or how we're going to juggle keeping our relationship with our wife, and how are we
Absolutely.
going to juggle, taking care of our kids. And you're literally doing all of it at the same time.
It gets insane. It gets insane, man. First, I just want to say, to my partner, my lady, my queen, Courtney, without her being willing to like allow me to be myself and, for me to let her be herself, none of this would be playing out at all. And so we've negotiated that I get the morning duties, which is why you see me going all crazy with my kids in the morning, and then she kind of takes the afternoon shift. So yeah, definitely in the mornings, my kids are giving me a run for my money.
So you have two twins.
Uh-huh.
They're pretty young. So let's talk about, how has your experience been as a new dad? Has it been exciting, scary? What's really surprised you?
That's a really good question. I think it's coming in phases, and I'm sure because I feel like I'm new to this whole dad mode. But initially, I was completely freaked out in my mind. I was like, what did I get myself into? Am I ready for this? I don't even have my life completely figured out yet. Like now I'm bringing, not only one child, but two, because what happened was when she realized she was pregnant, we had our mindset on, okay, is it a boy or a girl? When we went to the doctor's visit and he was doing the ultrasound, he just like literally made the sound, oh, we got two of them. And that's where, that's where I was taken aback. And so, initially I was afraid. Then as things settled in and, Courtney gave birth to the children, I think I started to settle in on getting comfortable that I was raised in an environment where, we had, like, I literally watched my cousins born and raised in my parents' homes. And so I kind of had this mindset of, I'm ready, I'm prepared for it. And like the third phase is, hell no, I'm not ready for it, especially now that they're getting mobile. This is a completely mind-blowing experience, but I'm loving it though. I'm loving it. And what I'm really loving about it is that they are at a stage right now where they're like trying to mimic everything that I'm doing. And I'm starting to see that, I'm their influence, me and their mother, their influence. And that's a powerful position to be in, especially knowing that that's our future. So.
Yeah, it's really funny. We went out on the boat earlier in the week, and we spend a lot of time wake surfing as a family. And so our kids always invite their friends and stuff. And my daughter invited her boyfriend, and Judy and I are kind of interacting, and her boyfriend goes, wow, you're a lot like your mom. And it's funny because, there's so much truth to, as you're raising your kids and you're playing with them, you're trying to teach them, they pick up both the good and the bad of you. And I'll never forget the first time, my kid, he literally mimicked me, and I'm like, wow, is that good or is that bad?
No, right? Yeah, literally can relate to that. I ask myself that all the time.
It's a challenge. So how old are they now?
They're 18 months.
Okay, so 18 months. So you have the challenge of bringing two, not one, two 18-month-olds into your relationship with your lovely queen. How are you guys juggling the relationship and making time for each other amidst taking care of the kids?
We are super lucky and fortunate that, so the kids were preemies, and a cool fun fact for you is we spent 30 or more days in the hospital because she was
Wow.
admitted early, and then she, I'm speaking guy terms here, and I don't know what the correct way to phrase it is, why she had to be checked into the hospital early, but we were there for about 30 days. And because they were preemies, I think they came in 2 weeks early, we had to stay in the NICU as well. And so through that, we were able to be given guidance and some coaching on just like the initial parenting thing. And knowing Courtney and I, we're pretty spontaneous, but we've always worked well as a team. So it's been really good for our relationship. And to answer your question about downtime, like I guess through all our training, we've been able to really get our children on a great sleep schedule. And so they go to sleep at 7:30 sharp, excited to go to bed, and we have the rest of the evening for ourselves. So it's actually worked out pretty great for me. And I know I tell a lot of guys that story, or they come over and they see the kids going to sleep, and they're like, how are y'all doing this? And I'm like, I don't know. We got lucky.
God bless you. and I think he does that with the first one. He suckers you in with the first ones that are nice and sweet and cuddly, and then he gives you the second and third one, and they don't sleep or they're colicky or whatever. And he's like, all right,
Right.
now
Yeah,
I
we've
got a
had
new lesson to figure out.
it's honestly, Jody, been a really, really surprisingly smooth experience. I mean, it's getting more hectic now that they're more mobile, but prior to that, like, it's been pretty smooth.
That's awesome. No, it's fun. It's as I look at different stages of my life. I mean, I loved when my kids were babies. I enjoyed them most when they started becoming 18 months and older, just because their personalities really started to shine and they weren't just,
Right.
flesh blobs of eating, pooping little minions trying to grow, right? Um, but I've loved every single stage of it. And it's funny because, like, my sister, there's a 20-year gap between me and my youngest sister. And she was over this weekend with her kids, and she's got 5 kids, and they're all little dudes, right? They're
Yeah.
like 18 months to like 9. And they were so fun to play with, and they have such unique personality. I was like, oh, wow, I'd forgotten how much fun that phase was. But then at the same token, my kids now are 18 to 26, and they're starting to fly. They're starting to develop their own careers, and they're pursuing their
It's
dreams. And
amazing.
that's real fun too. And so as I reflect, it's like every single phase of fatherhood has been amazing. It's been really challenging in some respects, especially when we adopted 2 kids. But having a wife that you can tag team with really makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I like how you said that too, the phases. Like, each phase has its own, like, set of rewards and challenges. And I think that's what I'm experiencing right now. I'm sure there's many, many more to come, right? So
Yeah, you're in that fun time because you got 18 to about 4, and then soon they'll be doing preschool. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And I guess one of the things so are you guys doing anything to just have like family time, just the 4 of you, or are you disciplined, or do you have the flexibility, or do you create opportunities where you and your wife can just be you? Because especially when you got new babies, it's easy to just be consumed by the babies.
for sure, for sure. I think we do a decent job of what we're trying to do, especially now that it's warm. I'm in Indiana, so the weather is super crazy out here. Being from Texas, which is humid and hot all the time, to move into Indiana, the weather is hectic here. But now that it's warming up, we've really been trying to carve out time to take the children outside and let them enjoy the different sounds and see the cars drive by. And that's been something that we didn't necessarily like plan out. We just kind of just adopted as a ritual. But as far as like Courtney and I taking time for ourselves, it's funny because we just actually, now that this whole COVID thing is being lifted a little bit, she celebrated her birthday this past weekend. So, found babysitters, and we went out to a hotel and spent a day. It was a day, but trust me, that day felt like a week, right? So we really enjoyed our times outside of the house.
And you got to have those little escapes, whether they're one day, whether they're 1 hour. I mean, because I remember when we first adopted our 2 kids, the first 2 years, we literally could not leave the house together. One of us
Yeah,
always had to be home.
exactly.
And so, we got really creative and going, all right, we're going to isolate 2 hours, and we're just going to go escape into our bedroom. We're going to make milkshakes or cookies and watch a Netflix show. And I found that making that time, no matter how long it is, whether it's an hour to a full week, it's really important to keep that relationship growing and fortified, and it enables you to give not only to each other, but to re-energize yourself so that you can give to the kids even more. So
I think, the biggest thing hearing you talk that I think we're getting out of this, and I'm speaking for Courtney, but I'm pretty sure she would agree, is that we're learning to slow down because, she's an entrepreneur. She runs a company, I'm in business as well. And we're always on the go, like in work mode. And now that the kids have come, we're really looking forward to the downtimes. Like I said, they go to bed at 7:30, and for Courtney and I, that's like our little evening vacation. And so we really try to do what we can to enjoy our times there. And it just really teaches us how to slow down, right? And appreciate the little things.
so what's one or two things that you've really, really enjoyed about having kids?
Good question. I think, oh man, this is just a recent appreciation, is that I can look at my children in the eyes, and it's a little thing, but just how we communicate without, they're not speaking yet, but I could tell, just today I was looking at my son, and I was literally laughing hysterically, as if he told me the funniest joke in the world, only because I knew he understood what I was telling him. I was having this conversation with him. I was feeding him, and I was teasing him. So he would come in for a bite, and I'll pull the spoon away, and he started giving me this eye, I know what you're doing with me. And I started laughing. I was like, you didn't like that, did you? And he would wink at me. And anyways, that little moment of our communication is what I'm really loving. And same thing with my daughter. But that's my first answer. My second one is just it's more selfish, right? I think I'm just becoming a better human being because I want to be that for them. And just watching myself grow, from going from being impatient or being frustrated because I have to watch the children to now embracing it, it's been fun for me. I feel like they feel that energy. I'm big with energy and all that. So I could tell they're feeling that I'm more connected with them now that I'm accepting that, daddy's not gonna have everything his way.
I love the story about you and your son, because there's so many ways to communicate with your kids.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that story reminds me of my favorite picture with my daughter. So we have this picture, and I wish I had it. I would show it to you, but it's all four kids. All four of the kids, because we hadn't adopted yet, and they're really young. She's probably 2 years old, maybe. And they're dressed in these old kind of Little Rascals outfits, and it's all black and white. And the boys are all smiling, but she's got this look on her face like, I'm conquering the world, I'm the girl, and I'm taking charge, right?
I love that.
In that one little moment, there was so much personality in her face. And I think that's one of the things that I really enjoyed, when they were young, is seeing those little kind of hints at their personality that were kind of foreshadows of what was to come.
Yeah. Here's a bonus for you. I also appreciate how they're starting to communicate, because they have been with each other even when they were in the womb, and so they feel their energies. And what's so funny is that now they're in love with randomly going up to each other and hugging or kissing each other. And just for me to see that makes me super happy. I'm like, how long is this going to last? Because I wish they would keep their relationship strong like this forever. But I'm already seeing signs of them, starting to fight and, telling each other. So
that's good. That's fun. And, and they're going to go through those phases, right? Of wanting to be close, but also get out of my space.
Exactly. Yeah, so, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. So if you had to give anybody some advice as a new dad, what would be one or two tidbits that you think are really, really important?
Man, I'm going to go ahead and preface this with saying that I feel like I'm really, really lucky to have gone through the experience I've had with, some of the nurses in the hospital kind of giving us their tidbits. And, we're working with physical therapists and speech therapists as well. So we're getting some of that. But honestly, since the beginning, I think the biggest piece of advice I would give anybody is to accept the fact that this is a ongoing learning game. And no matter how much advice you get, you're going to have to go through yourself. And I think that if you're not a person who's already trusting yourself and your emotions and like your instincts, like this is time to really start to dive in and look into that, because like I said, there's no level of advice that's going to help you understand what path you need to be on as a parent. So that would be my biggest piece of advice. The second one is like, honestly, um, keeping a healthy relationship is super important, because that energy matters. Like you said, I think being able to work together cohesively as a team to raise, in my case, 2 children. I don't know who I would be as a person if I didn't have Courtney supporting me throughout this journey. Because, even with 2 of us, like it's a grind, right? And so like that relationship, we get to celebrate in the evenings together saying, wow, we made it through the day, with our 2 children. And that energy helps us get through for the next day and helps us look forward to, the times that are hard. So I think just keeping that relationship strong is another piece of advice I would give out.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, man, I really appreciate your time. I mean, we could easily go
I
for
already know. I
another.
was going to say that. I feel like I picked up on that energy. We probably could have conversations for hours, but this has been great so far, man.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I want to be respectful of your time. Man, I really appreciate, your mission. You have embraced your mission to spread positivity in the world. So I'm going to invite every single person to go out to TikTok, go find Joe Atang, become part of the Atang crew, because it is awesome. And, to listen to people, call in, because he does a live visual, virtual hugs every morning to just talk to people. The other thing that I like is like, what is your word of the day? And so, guys, I'm not going to spill the beans. You need to go check out and get connected with Joe, because it's awesome. But he's also a great father, as you can tell, and he loves being with his kids, and he loves that beautiful wife, Courtney. I can't wait to meet her. I mean, that's like that's one of the things that I've really enjoyed about Father's Fire is men, what in my experience, men who truly love being a father tend to truly put their wife on a pedestal.
Man, she's at the all-time like high, and more respect too, because we don't go through what women go through, like to give birth to a child. And me watching that, like just watching was like intense, right? And then like hearing her how she felt is even more intense. And I mean, it's just you can't put a woman lower than the highest pedestal when you go through that experience. So
yep, I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, Mom is the queen of the house.
yes, exactly.
I love you kids, but Mom comes first. And they all know that. They know Friday or Saturday night is always a date night. Judy and I always make
for you
time for
guys.
each other. And
Yeah.
I think that ripples. Your kids need to see that you put your wife on a pedestal, that she is everything to you. And when you do that, everything else in the family, it kind of falls into place, because if you're treating her right, you're going to treat your kids right.
That's what I love about your show. People need to see that there's good fathers out there, because honestly, I don't know what father I would be today if it wasn't for my dad leading by example, and it's funny because like my dad and I really didn't have a strong relationship until I really got matured enough and was humble enough to be able to dialogue with him, right? Because he was always working. So when he would come home, it's like dinner and sleep and rinse and repeat. And I'm sharing that because we didn't have to have a strong relationship for me to watch and see how he was treated. He put my mom on the highest pedestal. They just celebrated 43 years. And so these examples from fathers who really are invested into, becoming the best dads that they can be is an example that the world needs to see. So I really applaud you for your mission as well and putting this content out here, man, because it's important. The world, especially right now, as a black man, I would say this, that one thing that our community needs the most too is just strong fathers, people who are going to be there and show their children right from wrong, love from hate. And I mean, I could go on and on about how excited I am for you to have started this.
Yeah, it's fun. I love that you shared that your dad was that impact for you, because a lot of kids, unfortunately, they weren't blessed with that. But that doesn't mean that if you weren't blessed with that, that you can't change that generational curse, that you can't break the link and become the father that you had hoped to be. And, before I was going to wrap up, but I feel like I should share this one story. When I was a
And
kid,
have a question for you too.
go ahead.
No, I mean,
Oh,
I would love to
okay.
hear the story. Then it's just a real rapid fire
No,
question. Yeah.
so when I was a kid, I was about 17, and my dad and I had been working out in the yard on a very cold day in Arkansas, and we've been cutting wood and working, and finally we came in and we were just cold. And so dad went in and he put in a nice hot bath, and he's like, I'm just going to go soak and de-thaw. And I just went to the table because I was starving. And my mom, she's in there cooking pancakes and, flipping. All of a sudden, she just collapsed in the kitchen. Like a rag doll, just flopped to the floor. And I'm like, oh my God. And so I run in, knock on the door. Dad, something's wrong with mom. And my dad jumped out of that bath, ran into the kitchen, picked up my mom, butt naked, dripping wet, carried her into their bedroom and laid her down. And it was the most beautiful experience that I've ever saw of how much my dad loved my mom. And so, as he got her laid down and he's taking care of her, I went and got a towel and covered him. But, there was no shame. There was no embarrassment. It was just a moment of sheer love and service for my mom. And, to watch my dad do that, it is just riveted in my heart and my mind, of what it truly means to love your wife. And so I'm like, guys, you please put your wife first. If you put the love of your life before everything else, your kids will live to become like you, and even better, because they will want to emulate the kind of love that they saw in their home.
Yeah. I love that, man.
So
love that. Thanks for sharing that too, by the way.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you. You had a question, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah. So first question for you is, it's a real simple question. Did you, when you had your children, did you go through the phase of like trying to figure out the months for ages, or did you say the years? So right now I'm stuck in this 18-month like lingo, right? And I think it's funny because I used to be the guy that'd be like, why don't they just say the years, right? So
I was the same as you. Until 18 months, it was always months. But once they hit the 18-month mark, it was like, all right, they're 2 and 3. But I think there's like so many like monumental changes in those months that it's easy to go, oh, he's 1 month and 2 months, and at 6 months he started to crawl, and at 9 months he tried to stand. And so I think it's easy to go into months when they're little, because there's so much changing that it's like, oh, versus when they get 2, 3, 4, those changes are kind of more drawn out. And right. So that's just my philosophy on it. But yeah, I did months versus years.
That's amazing. Last question is just what's your main like mission behind your podcast, your platform here?
My greatest hope is that I can highlight experiences in my life or in other men who are trying to be great fathers, examples of what the passion and love and excitement that it is to be a dad. Yes, it's tough. Yes, it's challenging, but man, it is so much fun to be a dad. And I think if we as men can get outside of ourselves and we can truly go, you know what, I'm going to put my wife first, I'm going to put my kids first, then life becomes really rich. So if I can inspire men to get excited about being a father being a husband and really treating their wife like the queen she is and not the help, man, that will be a true legacy of impact.
And
So
that's
yeah.
amazing. Thanks for sharing.
No, well,
This has been awesome. This has been awesome.
Well, thank you for joining me, man. I will be checking you out on, of course, the Atang crew, and I invite everybody to check him out. Are there other places people can connect with you as well, Joe?
So yeah, I would love for you guys to stop by if you can on a live show. You don't have to stay the entire time, but just at least to say hi and for me to embrace you and show you some love. But yeah, so I'm doing that every morning. I say 8-ish for about an hour, and then I have a video cast slash soon to be podcast called A Cup of Joe Atang, where that idea was literally inspired the same time the virtual hug started. And the whole concept behind that is I wanted to go meet creators like yourself who literally were on the platforms like Instagram or TikTok, who were using their platforms to, express and share a positive message in their field of expertise. And so I just literally act like we're in a coffee shop during the show and just pick your brain and ask you what you're about. And so that is on Facebook. It's on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. I'm Joe Atang everywhere, so it's not hard to miss me.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being my guest. I mean, it's been a phenomenal experience. And for those of you who are tuning in, thank you guys for joining me every week as we explore the joys, the challenges, the triumphs, the sorrows, and yes, the fun of being a dad. And, really, as, Joe asked me, it's like the mission here is to help us all be better men, to be better fathers and better husbands so that we can create a legacy that our kids will want to live up to and be inspired by who we're trying to be today. So you guys have a great week, and we'll check you next time, same bad channel, right here on Father's Fire.
Y'all stay amazing.